Hi, welcome back to Hill's Kitchen, except I'm not actually in the kitchen, but I am eating because I was like, oh, what I want to make. I don't have the equipment. I went to the legendary Waffle House. I don't crave Waffle House when I'm in Atlanta, and then the moment I leave, I'm like, oh man, ooh, I could use Waffle House. So I actually haven't had Waffle House in so long. They're in other states, but Atlanta Waffle House is just different. Like, it's just an experience. I was gonna film there, but I decided against it since everybody was enjoying their little Easter brunch, and there was only like 5 of us in there, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be weird. Today's topic is worry, doing pecan waffles and worry. But let me just try these grits because I'm curious. They're fantastic. This is the happiest I've been like all month. Something about good Southern comfort food, it just puts everything in perspective. You're like, actually, I'm gonna be okay. Like, it does. A lot of things don't matter because I'm eating very good grits. So, no, it actually makes no sense how good this is. Like, it's funny. The British will always be like, "What are grits?" And I'd be like, "What? How do you explain something so divine, something so perfect?" I always say it's kind of like porridge, but with more like butter. I mean, some people put cheese in their grits. You add some stuff to it, but basically, it's like porridge. It's thicker than oatmeal. It's better. It's, if you don't like oatmeal, don't sleep on grits. Like, grits still slap. Anyway, I feel like worry is a trick of the enemy, because once your mind starts, it won't stop. Like, you're like, oh, what about this? What about that? Oh my gosh, how am I gonna afford this? Oh my gosh, what if they don't take me? What if I don't get the job? Your mind just won't shut up, and that starts to get really annoying. And that has been my toxic trait for the longest. I feel like life and becoming a better Christian has helped me to like not be tripping, because it's very easy to be tripping, like to be worried about something, because there's always something that you don't know. There's always something coming up ahead that you're not fully expecting, or that you feel like if I had more control, I would be in a better place, or things would make more sense. And if I could control it all and get it all to go my way, then I would be happier. And lo and behold, that's actually not true, because the moment one thing gets resolved, then something else is unknown, something else is causing you stress, and then it just starts all up again. Younger me, then the logic was, I'll wake up one day and everything is resolved. I'll wake up and everything doesn't stress me out anymore, or it doesn't weigh on me mentally and spiritually. And then life continued, and I realized, oh wait, that's not gonna happen. Like, I have to actually make the decision to have peace and to not worry. And so to me, I would just define worry as the constant, perpetual cycle of anxiety, rumination, and stress rooted in fear and doubt and a lack of control. Yes. When I think about it, all the times I've ever been worried, it came from those 3 things: doubt, fear, or lack of control. The times where I felt like, oh, how am I going to make it through? Like when I was living paycheck to paycheck in New York, I just had a lot of doubt. And because I knew it was possible for me to be late on rent and to like let everybody in the flat down or whatever, then that made the fear that much more sincere, because I knew, oh, it is a genuine possibility that I don't have enough money, or it is a genuine possibility that like I run out of funds and I'm not able to go about my day to day. That wasn't delusional. Like, there was a genuine reason to be afraid. Like, I wasn't one of those people who had thousands in the bank account. Was like, oh my god, guys, I'm running out of money. Like, it wasn't that. Like, it was serious. But I'm just saying that was rooted in fear and me doubting God, that like, oh, he's not really gonna come through. Other situations in life were much more rooted in this lack of control, that like, oh, because things are taking so long, or because things aren't making sense, I want to pull up. I want to be mad. If I had been running the show, if I had been on the board, if I had been leading the team, leading the group project, then this wouldn't have happened. It would go perfectly. And then you take that human messiness and give it to God, because then you're like, well, if I was the running my show, running my life, and like writing it all out, it would go a lot better on the low, because I would have done it here, and I would have done it that way, and I would have brought these people in here. That is kind of the core of it. And I feel like worry, I've come to realize, even though I'm dragging myself right now, worry then feels like this constant suspiciousness towards life and towards God. I'm not gonna lie, if once you really get on that wave, you don't stop. Then you think, oh, something's always gonna go wrong. Something's always have to get me. Something always isn't good enough. Something always is like gonna be my adversary. You know, like you almost looking for problems where there aren't any, because you're expecting something to go wrong, and you're expecting that the solution is you could have done it better, or that like, unless you spend all this time, energy, and effort dwelling on it, that's the only way. And life has taught me that is actually very bad. You're constantly upset about something. You're constantly anxious about something. And that's not that is not God's best. I'm gonna pause this and whip out my waffle because I'm excited. Like, I've grown a lot since the last time I was at Waffle House. So before, I would just get, like, I'd be plain Jane, you know, just get a regular waffle, not do too much, get some sausage or bacon or whatever. And now, you know what I mean, because I'm a grown woman, I got the pecan waffle, like, so I'm a little excited because I think it's gonna be amazing. But that was a big step for Elmo. I was like, well, what if it's bad? What if I don't like it on camera? That would be a first on Hill's Kitchen for me to not like something that I either made or ordered. But I was like, well, I guess we're gonna find out. This is my pecan waffle. I thought she'd be bigger, I'm not gonna lie, but they know I'm trying to, you know, behave, not do too much, so I don't mind the portion control. Waffle House understood the assignment between the grits being amazing and this cute little waffle that is not gonna spoil my dinner or like make me bloated. Like, I'm really grateful for that. Obviously, I got orange juice. Oh man, my waffle's kind of cold, and that's on me. That's not on Waho, that's on me. So wait, let's just pause this for a second. All right, my bad. Sorry about that. If this don't taste good, we're just not gonna talk about it, okay? And I don't want to drag Waffle House on screen. But listen, if it's not good, they gonna know. I can't hide. I'm not gonna protect y'all. I'm not gonna get on the Lord's internet and lie. I wanted to read 2 different scriptures. Well, one I know by heart. The other I'm gonna have to read. But the first one is the obvious one, Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him and he will make your path straight. Now, that's easier said than done. As I've gotten older, I've come to realize that, like, trust automatically forces you to let go of worry. Because if you trust, then you're like, oh, well, it's all gonna work out. It's all gonna come together. You're just not pressed. You're not pressed the way you would be if you were leaning on your own understanding and your own methods and your own power. Child, this waffle is burning my leg. The Waffle House heat is getting to it. I'm just never gonna know everything. And that's actually for the best. What would I do if I knew everything? That would actually cause you more stress. That knowledge would cripple you, which is not the point of life. Okay, here we go. It is different, but I'm gonna eat it. The waffle's fantastic. It's the pecans where I'm like, okay, this is an acquired taste, but I'm glad I stepped out. I'm not mad at it. Because now I know, you know. I should have gotten the chocolate chip. I should have gone with what I knew I would love, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be different. But that's just my personal stance. Bro, the grits, mountains moved, okay? People died. Like, the grits are fantastic. I will do an episode on trust later on, but for me, trust is that, like, God is still gonna restore me and do everything that he said, even though it looks the opposite. And, you know, in the spirit of Easter and it being Easter weekend, it's really hit me that, like, that's when heaven does its best work. The impossible is the whole brand. The impossible is what we stand for, what we came to see. So I'm like, okay, period. I think younger me would be losing her mind right now at all the uncertainty in my life and all the, like, dead things and all the barrenness, all the dry bones. Shout out to Ezekiel. But yeah, I was like, you know what? I'm just not tripping. Like, I feel like when I left London 5 months ago, I had a lot of worry in me just because of, like, this being the last thing I thought my life was going to be. But then I reached a point of radical acceptance because I was just like, well, I mean, God's brought me here before, so obviously he can bring me back. There's so much in my life that looks the opposite of what he told me, that just means that, like, oh, he has a plan, he has purpose, so we just gonna have to find out. I mean, I had my feelings about it, but by the time I had to fly out of Heathrow, I was like, truly, Lord, have your way. I knew I cannot afford to miss this flight, and yet, like, it was looking that way. Y'all, my bag was actually 70 pounds. And they were like, you know what? Like, we're not even gonna charge you. We're not even gonna trip because you're gonna miss your flight otherwise. They were like, honestly, we have space for it on the plane, so we'll just put it on. We're not even gonna charge you. I was like, let's just tell the story, right? So I was vibing. I was having a good time. It was like the eve before I left London, and one of my good friends was like, oh, come to this concert with me. Turns out it's Kendrick Lamar, and they're like, great season. I was like, period. Had a great time. But, you know, I just had so much turmoil going on in my life that even though I had fun, I was very nervous about what was about to unfold in my life because I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen once I leave British soil. When I woke up, everything just went wrong. Like, I woke up later than I thought. The budget airline I had booked with didn't actually send me my confirmation email, so I didn't actually have my boarding pass. So I'm spending all this time on the phone with them, which, you know, ate away time that I should have been using to get dressed, take a shower, like, be ready. Now, a better woman would have taken a Uber or whatever, but it was gonna take about the same amount of time. So I was like, no, I'll just take the Elizabeth line. Like, it's gonna be fine. It was not fine. Ron Howard voice. It was not. Like, it was not fine because it was rush hour, right? It's like 8 in the morning and I wasn't ready. Because it was like I had to take the overground and then switch. So now, whoever, if you're British and you're listening to this, you know I'm already doing too much. But yeah, so I had to take the overground because I was like near Hoxton, I want to say. So we're staying near Hoxton. So I had to take the overground down and then switch at Whitechapel onto the Elizabeth line and then take the Elizabeth line out to Heathrow. What I didn't know but learned on this trip was that there's only one Elizabeth line, but there's a difference in what output it takes you to. So like they don't all go to the same destination. Like some cut before, some like divvy out. So when I missed my train, I didn't realize that was the airport train because the next one was still the Elizabeth line. So I'm on it and they're talking about the last destination. I'm like, what? Like, no, that can't be right. Like, no. And I'm sitting there like, I think they're serious. It's not going out to Heathrow. Like it's going out west, but it's not going all the way to Heathrow. So I had to stand there and wait. Like once I got far enough out, I had to get off whatever acting stop it was and then wait for the next Elizabeth line. When I tell you I'm stressed because I'm like, bro, my flight is leaving at like 10:30. It's like 9 something. At this point, I want to say it's like 9:15. And I know I'm only a couple stops away from Heathrow, but there's no other option. Like I have to wait. Like I can't walk. I can't Uber. Like I was like, it's a wrap. I finally get to Heathrow. I want to say it's like 9:40. Like it's bad for me. Like I literally have less than an hour. I was stressed. And then I get there and they were like, yo, you really think you about to make this flight? And I was like, yes. And they were like, well, okay. And they literally were like, okay, do you have your passport? Do you have this? I was like, yes. I think, you know, looking young and cute and pretty, that never hurts. That never hurts you. The girls that say pretty privileges are real are lying. I don't know if that's just so they can sleep better at night, but yes, pretty privilege does exist. I do benefit from it now in a way that I didn't when I was younger because I hadn't blossomed. But yes, if you are pretty, if you are a hot girl, you do know that I'm telling the truth. It came through that day. Favor is not fair because they were like, okay, you know what? Yeah, like we'll put your bag on the plane. We're not going to charge you. You know what? We're just going to help you. Like they were like, we don't usually do this. They kept saying that we don't usually do this, but we're doing the most to make sure I got on the flight. And they were like, okay, we're not going to let you go through regular TSA. We're going to let you go through like the express TSA. There was this woman arguing in the express TSA because she didn't want to throw out her toiletries, I want to say, and literally the rest of us are looking at each other like. Meanwhile, I didn't even get to pull up. I didn't even get to say nothing crazy like, hey, can I get it for? I didn't even get to do that because they were like, yes, she on the 10:30. She on the 10:30. They were putting my business out there and they were like, ma'am, we have to keep the line moving. Like they were not gonna let me miss the flight, y'all. And literally, it was giving Home Alone energy, like running through the airport. You know, I had to take off your shoes, empty all your electronics, put it all back in the bag. At this point, it's after 10 o'clock because again, the flight's supposed to take off at like 10:30. I was like, oh my god, when I tell you I was running, y'all, like not like running, but like you would have thought I was in Daytona 500 the way I was wheeling my little carry-on suitcase trying to get through Heathrow, and it would be the furthest possible like gate, and I was like, not this. So I literally get there and they like see me running towards them. And I'm like winded. They were like, oh, you passenger hill. And I was like, I am. They're like, well done, babe. Well done. Like, they were so impressed. They were like, we didn't think you would make it. Like they were so serious. Like, they were like, we did not see it for you. Like we just, they called us on the radio and we were like, we're not gonna hold the plane for her, but if she can get here, okay. Because literally from the moment I walked in and told them the flight I was getting on, they were like, oh, we need to call them because we're not even gonna let you through if it's not possible. After they got off the radio, they were like, yeah, if she can get here, yes. So I got there and they were like, good for you. It was all a bunch of women, a bunch of British women. It was like 4 of them, 4 flight attendants standing there, and they're like, you did that. Like, you did that. And in my mind, I was like, Nothing but the blood. Nothing but God. Because I've never missed a flight a day in my life, but I came close that day. They were like on the final boarding call by the time I got there. It wasn't cute. It wasn't cute. But see, he still made a way. I was worried that whole morning I wasn't going to make it. And there was a part of me that was self-sabotaging because I was like, well, if I don't make it, then I get to stay. But God was like, no, be on the flight. So I did my part and it all worked out. Now, some would say, what does that have to do with anything? And I'm like, because I had to trust that I would make the flight. In my own understanding, in the world's understanding, I should have missed that flight. I could not afford to miss that flight. And heaven knew it, and thus I was on that flight. All that worrying I did didn't really change anything. Because either I was going to make the flight or I wasn't, I couldn't control TFL. I could not control the overground. I could not control, whether the lovely people at the Heathrow airport were going to show mercy to me. I couldn't control any of that. And yet I still made the flight. But you can tell me nothing. Because I was like, no, that was God. When I think back on that, especially in relation to things I'm going through now, it's like, you know what? I'm like, if God don't do it, it just won't get done. I'm not even impressed. Because I'm like, well, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna do my part and that's it. That's all I'm supposed to do. So I guess that's all I'm gonna do. That's where we're at. So the other verse I want to read, which is what I think about a lot, is actually Matthew 6:25 through 34. The whole section is do not worry, but the older I get, the more it means something to me. I used to hate this passage growing up because I'm like, oh my God, this again. But now that I'm older, I'm like, no, it's actually a serve, and it kind of makes me emotional. Therefore, I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? And why do you worry about clothes? See how the flowers of the field grow. They do not labor or spin. Yet I tell you that not even Solomon in all his splendor was dressed like one of these. If that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow is thrown into the fire, will he not much more clothe you, you of little faith? So do not worry, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? For the pagans run after all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. If that's not a bar, I don't know what is. Now, for somebody who always worries, I'd be like, boo. That's not going to stop me, though. But as I've gotten older, I'm like, no, it's actually true. As crazy as the world is, every day, I still somehow have food, still somehow have clothes, still somehow have my right mind. And that's a lot. That's a lot in the grand scheme of things. I see sparrows a lot, actually, like sparrows and robins. And every time I do, I smile because I've been through enough things to see how much God has kept me. And then when you see birds, I think about this verse every time I see small birds. And I'm like, they literally do not have the problems we do and don't have the access that we do. And yet they live, yet they survive, yet they thrive. And I'm like, oh, wow. Maybe I don't need to be worried. I've had to really address worry head on because so much is out of my control that I just don't have the energy to be tripping about stuff. And when I consider where I could have been and how bad things were at various points in my life, especially like 6 months ago, I'm like, actually, if you don't want me to worry, maybe I don't. And I'm not gonna lie, seek it first. It does work because try to stay in my word and things just don't bother me the way they used to. Today I started 1 Kings, so it's funny that they mentioned Solomon. I didn't even realize that Solomon is mentioned in that passage. Solomon, if you don't know, was just this really iconic king. He was a hoe, but he was an iconic king. So anyway, he was like the wisest person in the Bible. When God asked him, oh, what do you want? What can I give you? If you could have anything in the world, what would you have? He was like, I want wisdom. So he was a legend. But anyway, I don't worry the way I used to. Yes, I have the thoughts, but I don't know. I try not to get swept up in them because in the past, I would spend days, hours, weeks worried about stuff. And now I feel like it's like minutes. And that's progress to me. I feel myself cutting up, feel myself getting worried and anxious. And then I'm just like, never mind. How I've been able to release myself from worry is knowing, okay, I've done all that I can do. It's that line in Control, in Off SZA's album Control, where her mom is like, I say to myself, Audrey, you've done all that you can do, and that's all you can do. And once I realize that, then I can actually let it go. This is the perspective I've come to realize, where I'm like, everything's already written. I'm just walking through it. Period. Everything's already written. I'm just walking through it. And that has freed me because I'm like, okay, so long as I stick to the script, it's all going to work out. So the top priority is me sticking to the script, me being obedient, me being submitted, me actually being in alignment with where I'm supposed to be and trusting that and not doing too much because it's already written. So my career is already written. My marriage is already written, my family's already written, my legacy's already written. Am I gonna get in the way of that, or am I gonna be in alignment, do what I'm supposed to do? I've basically been telling myself that life as a Christian is just an elaborate game of Sims, because God is running everything, and ain't nothing worse than Sims who don't want to do right. Where you've already figured out what you want their career to be, what you want their like reputation to be in town, and like what you got in store for them, and they want to, throw something into the mix. And you're like, I didn't tell you to do that. Like, no, that's not your career. Like, no, that's not your man. Like you're like, well, hold up. What do you think you're doing? No, ma'am. And you just like be eliminating all this stuff from their life, and they be crying, boo-hooing, because they didn't want to quit the job, they didn't want to leave the man, they didn't want to move towns or whatever. And you're like, I have plans for you. Stay focused. And as of late, I've been realizing that's literally God at human beings, because it's like he wrote it all. And we be getting mad about stuff, and he's just like, girl, I got you. If you would just relax. Sims be fighting you over the simplest stuff, and you're like, girl, I'm gonna give you the mother load sheet, and you finna have the nicest house in the neighborhood, and you arguing with me over the starter home. You arguing with me over the sloppy jalopy when I'm about to give you a luxury vehicle. Like why? So when I think about that, then I'm like, actually, I'm gonna just do my part, because I do love Sims. I've been delivered. I don't play Sims anymore, but I'm just saying, although I may have to act up when Sims 5 finally comes out, because I've been waiting a long time. But anyway, I'm just saying, why worry? You know what I mean? Sims be throwing a fit with you, and you're like, shut up. You don't know what I have for you. You don't know how I'm about to use you. You don't know how I'm about to put you on. Thank God you speak Simlish and not English, because how dare you run your mouth when I'm about to really do great exploits through you in Sunset Valley. Like in Bridgeport, in San Myshuno, you cutting up with me, and why? Do you know how much I'm putting into your story right now? I'm like, they cheated, and for what? Like, because I'm about to send you the finest sim in the whole town. Like you're like, don't play with me. You the sim. You the sim, not me. And I feel like that's been me as of late, where I'm like, I'm the sim, which means I need to chill out, because like I be worried about stuff, and for what? So now it's like my head is just, I just be vibing. Everything that God has ordained is already in motion. It's coming. It's already written. There are dates on it. There are seasons for it. Everything is solid. So I'm like, I'm actually stressing myself out for no reason, being worried. Why? Like when I sit with that, then I'm like, oh baby, no, it's not up to me, and so thus I don't have to trip. I'm just being a main character. Like that's literally all this is. That's what life is, me being a main character, because I'm like, if God don't do it, it just won't get done. So why would I stress myself out about all the details? That's his job. So again, if I show up like I'm supposed to, if I tithe like I'm supposed to, if I'm faithful like I'm supposed to, if I'm obedient like I'm supposed to, hot take, it will actually work out. So I'm like, I'm not gonna be worried about the details. When things go wrong now, or I'm like, ooh, and then I'm like, you know what? No. I do now understand why the Bible tells you not to worry. It's ruining the experience. It's ruining what life was meant to be, and it's detracting from your joy and your peace and your happiness. And you are spending your limited time on earth always worried about something. Obviously, if you have anxiety disorder, that's a whole separate thing, but I'm just saying in general. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going back to the grits. I'm not even gonna play with y'all. If you like this video, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. I hope everybody has a fantastic week. Try not to worry. Whatever you're going through, this too shall pass. It's not the end of the world. And even if it is something serious, that too can be overcome. You know, in the spirit of Easter, you can overcome. Things can be dead, broken, barren, and nasty one day, and be completely redeemed, restored, and given a whole new life the next. So do not believe that, oh, because it's bad now, it's always gonna be that way, and because it doesn't make sense now, everything's falling apart if I don't do the most to get it back on track. That we could really get into it about all the things that we're worried about, but then we'd be here all week, all month really. So we're just not gonna do that. I don't need to know y'all's business. You don't need to know my business. I mean, you can put it in the comments if you want, but I'm just saying, I'm gonna tell you what I already said here, which is that too shall pass. Like, it's not gonna be the death of you, child. If what Jesus went through was overcomable for him, no, nothing on this earth is going to be enough to like get me to wild out and to fully take matters in my own hands. I like that my story is written, and I like that all I have to do is just walk through it. Y'all enjoyed, and I hope you have an incredible Easter weekend, and yes, I will see you next week.